IB Nation, welcome back to another episode of the Irish Breakdown Podcast brought to you by FanDuel. It is Tuesday, and even though Notre Dame has already played a football game this year, it is finally game week once again. And one of the things that I learned about myself is when Notre Dame has a season opener on a Sunday night and then they proceed to follow that up with not playing a game, kind of makes it feel like the season hasn't started yet. I know that it has. Believe me, I know that it has, but it is finally game week once again. It is Tuesday, September 9th. And today, Brian, we are going to start by previewing this Notre Dame versus Texas A&M matchup. It's number 16 Texas A&M traveling up to South Bend to take on the number 8 Fighting Irish in Notre Dame. It's going to be Saturday, September 13th. It's another night game, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff. If you're not able to make it up to the game, then you can always watch it on NBC, or it's probably streaming on Peacock as well. Now, when we start getting into the lines of what this game are, we take a look at what our FanDuel numbers tell us. And what they tell us is right now, Notre Dame is 6.5-point favorites. The over-under right now is set at 49.5. I think they're kind of waiting for Notre Dame to break that 30 threshold for them to get an over-under that's over 50 before they're comfortable putting that over-under higher. Little nugget, I think this has the makings to be a little bit higher scoring of a matchup. We'll dive into that as the week goes on. But, yes, right now FanDuel has the over-under for this game set at 49.5. But, Brian, this is an extremely interesting matchup. When you look at this big picture, you start to get into the conversation of, okay, what do each team bring to the table on either side? Well, Texas A&M hasn't started a season 3-0 since 2021. Right now they're undefeated, sitting at 2-0 with wins over UTSA and Utah State. As we know, Marcus Freeman is 1-2 in home openers. They lost to Marshall, lost to Northern Illinois last season. Their lone win came against the first FCS program that they played in Notre Dame school history.
0-2 against FBS teams.
They are.
Home openers.
They are. And Mike Elko, since he's taken over at Texas A&M, is currently 1-1 in road openers. So it's that conversation of, okay, what takes the day? One of these dominoes has to fall. Ideally, it falls in favor of Notre Dame, but I'm excited to dive into this matchup with you this week, man.
Yeah, this is a huge game for Notre Dame, and a game that Notre Dame fans should be fired up about. I'm honestly a little disappointed at some of the reactions from Notre Dame fans. Not that they're not mad about the Miami game, but almost kind of like they've given up on the season already. You know, you and I were talking about how there's a lot of people trying to sell their tickets. There's people talking about, is this game even worth going to? Are you kidding me? This is a pair of top 20 teams. This is Notre Dame's home opener. Everything that Notre Dame wants to play for this season is still in front of them. It's still in front of them, right? I mean, you've got a top 20 SEC team coming into town this weekend. How are you not excited about that? This is a great chance for Notre Dame to go out and say, hey, we did not play well in the opener. We lost a game we shouldn't have lost. Now let's rally back by 3 points. Let's bounce back and go win. I hope that the players and coaches have more fortitude about this game than some of the Notre Dame fan base. Some of the Notre Dame fan base is fired up, and they're exactly like we are, Trev. I can't wait to see this team get back out there. I can't wait to see what this team is going to do on the bounce back. Other fans are ready to quit. Thank God the players – well, I hope that the players and coaches don't pack it in like some people who don't even want to come to the game now. You know, it's like, look, man, this is going to be a great game. It's a home opener. It's a night game. It's a top 20 team. It's an SEC team. It's a former Notre Dame assistant. You win this game, and you're back on track. Simple as that. I can't wait for this game. I really am excited about it, Trevor. It's been a while since we've been in Notre Dame Stadium. It's been a while since we've been inside Notre Dame Stadium where it wasn't really cold. So I'm looking forward to that. You know, it's even been longer for that. So I'm excited. I'm ready for this game. I'm ready for this breakdown. This is going to be a tough opponent. That's what you want at Notre Dame. That's what you want. So I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this matchup and ready to get this thing rocking and rolling.
You and me both, man. I'm ready to go for this one. I mean, the last home opener Notre Dame had at nighttime, I think, was Michigan back in 2018. And we know how awesome that game was. And then we also know what Notre Dame went on to do that season. You win this game, and the playoff hopes, all the playoff implications are still well in Notre Dame's hands. You guys know how we're going to get down today. We're going to talk part one. We're talking what's at stake here. We've broken that down into 3 key areas. Part 2, we're going to dive into Texas A&M specifically. Now, this is going to be a big picture overview. Tomorrow, we're going to get a little bit more in the weeds about offense and defense. This is just a general overview. Texas A&M is a team, high-level view of their offense, high-level view of their defense. So Brian, there's going to be a lot that we're going to cover here today, but we already started to hint around it. There are a lot of things at stake for Notre Dame, and we've broken that down into 3 different little points of what is really at stake. And that starts with getting back some momentum and building some confidence after what was a tough loss on the road in week 1.
This game was going to be a big show us what you're made of game, no matter what happened in the opener. It was either going to be you're coming off of a big win. Can you handle success? Last year Notre Dame opened the season against Texas A&M, and they came home and lost at home to Northern Illinois because they didn't handle success well. I also want to say that the same stuff people are saying, like, I'm afraid this is going to go on throughout the entire season. That's the same stuff we heard after the Northern Illinois game, and honestly was a legit concern that we had after the way that game played out. No team just stays the same from beginning to end, unless you just think this is a bad coaching staff, which I just don't think that it is. But when you look at it, Trev, it's like you're going to have to show who you are now. The other one was, if you lose, how do you rally back? How do you bounce back? Are you just like, well, it's no big deal. We played a good team, nothing to worry about, no stress. And then you don't actually kind of look in the mirror and say, hey, what led to that loss from a player and coach standpoint? If that happens, then this is going to be a much tougher game to win. If you look at that opener and you in the loss and you have a little bit of, man, that's on me. I want every player from CJ Carr to Jeremiah Love to Emil Wagner to Anthony Knapp to Leonard Moore to Don Shula to Drake Bowen to everybody to look in the mirror and say, what did I do that cost my team? And how do I fix it? And where's that kind of that pride coming from? And that's going to tell us a lot about who this football team is, Trev. It's going to tell us a lot about what the leadership is like. It's going to tell us a lot about what their football character is like. It's going to tell us a lot about, the cohesiveness of this coaching staff working together. It's going to tell us a lot about the ability of the leaders on the team to rally this group together. You've had 2 weeks to kind of let this stew and fester, and how you respond to it's going to tell us who you are. If you come out in this game and kind of lay another egg and don't play well and don't play hard, even if you win, that's going to be a little concerning to me. But if you can come out and handle your business and play with a little attitude and play like you're actually ticked off about how the opener went, then that's going to tell us a lot of good things about this team. And so I think the people that are just assuming this is going to be a problem are misguided. I think the people that are just assuming that this team is going to come out and beat Texas A&M by 50 are misguided. We don't know how this team is going to respond. That's what makes this game so intriguing, because how they respond is going to tell us a lot about the character of this football team. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be a 30-point win. I need to see that they've made some improvements. I need to see this team play hard. I need to see this team get back to playing fast. I want to see this team get back to being what we know it can and should be. And then I can deal with the sloppiness. Because the thing that bothered me about the opener, Trev, it wasn't that the offensive line made mistakes or the defensive line had some bad snaps or the secondary had some technical miscues or there's some bad run fits from the linebackers or the quarterback made some bad RPO reads or the receivers didn't block appropriately on certain plays. That didn't bother me. I expect that. I've watched a lot of football the last 2 weeks. Every team has had that. It just, for Notre Dame, it was more problematic because you were actually playing a good team. And when you make those mistakes, they're going to make you pay more than Utah State or UTSA or, insert whatever team that teams can just kind of roll the ball out against. It was more so what bothered me is the fact that you kind of got physically whipped, and the fact that they went away from the identity of who this team should be, which is a physical, fast football team. And that's more of the concern for me. I want to see them bounce back from that. And so we could come out and watch this team play, and they win by 3, and it's still sloppy on the O-line. It's still sloppy over here. They're still making this mistake. CJ Carr is not Peyton Manning by his second game, and they win by 3, 4, 7 points, but they played hard. They were physical. They played fast. I'm good with that. But if they come out and win by 3, 4, 5, 7, but some of those same things that we saw in that regard against Miami, then it's not so much about the win. So for me, it's not so much about winning and losing. Losing is going to be a problem. But even a win can kind of be like it won, but did they really address the issues? It's more so how they play. Now, the reason I say it's not about winning and losing, it's about how they play, because I believe if this Notre Dame team plays their game, they beat whoever they play. So that's where I'm coming from as far as it's not about the result for me. It's the process. It's how they play. Because I know if this team plays to their ability each and every week, they're going to beat everybody left on their schedule. But we have to see that team show up.
No, agreed, Brian. I mean, simply put, what you're talking about is the eye test. And I'm big with the eye test. Why did some people start to feel better after Purdue? And last season I'm talking about. We're going to learn really quickly how this Notre Dame team handles failure. Last season, we know what it was. Losing to Northern Illinois in your home opener is a failure. There's no way to look around it. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It was a straight up failure. But they bounced back. But to your point about the eye test, and yeah, you could still walk away with a win and you might put up some empty numbers depending on how the game goes. But if you don't do it with fire, you don't do it with physicality, you don't do it at 100 miles an hour, there's not really a whole lot to look forward to. And that was one of the things in the Purdue game outside of just winning 66-7. Because Purdue last year, let's call a spade, was one of those football teams that you could just roll the ball out on and you're going to win by at least 28 points.
If they would have played the second team that they put in the second half, the whole game, they win by 3 or 4 touchdowns minimum.
100%. 100%. But one of the reasons why, and I believe we talked about this in the postgame. In the postgame show after Purdue last year, it was still a little bit of, I don't know if they're back on the playoff train yet, but this is a step in the right direction. And we believe that because of how they played.
Right.
You could tell that this team played angry. You could tell that this team was playing with a fire of, we just let down the 80,000 people that were in the stadium that day, along with the millions other that were watching at home. They came out and they were aggressive on defense. They were attacking downhill. Offensively, they were aggressive and they were hitting big play after big play. So those are some of the things that I'm hoping to see against Texas A&M. Now, relative to the competition, it's going to look different. I'm not expecting Notre Dame to go out and win 66-7 against the number 16th ranked team in the country. I'm not. But if it looks like how I think it should, the defense is flying downhill and the offensive line is doing their job and getting a push off the line in the run game. And the receivers, when they're not the number one primary read in the offensive scheme, are still running routes at 100 miles an hour. That tells me that this team is on the road to recovery from a disappointing loss in week 1. A 3-point loss to the now number 5 team in the country, disappointing loss, but still a disappointing loss. And one that shouldn't have been there. And so that's what I'm going to be looking for. I'm on board with you there, Brian.
Yeah, and like there's certain arbitrary things that people look at that they want to see that I don't care about. I don't care if Mike Denbrock comes out and they're going to go 12 personnel and run it to Jeremiah Love the first 7 plays of the game. Like I don't care about that. Call plays that work. Because like the funny thing is the people that are like, they better give Love the ball are going to be the same people in the postgame show pissed off that the offense didn't do anything. Why'd they just keep handing it to Love? Why didn't they throw the ball? Why didn't they do this? Like if stuff doesn't work, people are going to complain about it. Mm-hmm. I care that it works. I want to see them come out but it's not about the play calls. I don't care if they throw the first 5 plays of the game. I want to see him be physical. I want to see him be fast. I want to see him be aggressive. And I want to see him take the fight to Texas A&M. That's what I care about. I don't care if they come out and run a, blitz, hey, let's employ the cover 1, that we're so good at. If that happens and they don't play hard and fast and physical and sound, I don't care about the structure of the defense. Those things matter. My point is those are secondary to this team playing a certain style. Now, I will argue that the defensive structure is what led to some of the passivity of the defensive players. But overall, it's just about that's what this game is going to be about, Trevor. It's going to tell us what's in the heart and soul of these football players from a football standpoint. That doesn't mean they're not great people, awesome people off the field, but I'm talking about that's what I say they're football character. And we're going to learn a lot about that this weekend. I want to see that this weekend. And then the play calls, and this is the reason I don't care about play calling. If you're doing that, if you're playing hard, you're playing fast, you're being aggressive, and you're executing your job, the play calls kind of take care of themselves. That's why I say that's not the issue. There's a deeper rooted issue that hurt Notre Dame against Miami that they've got to fix. And if they fix that, they could run the same exact stuff coming out against Texas A&M that they ran against Miami, and they're going to win this football game. Then we can start talking about what adjustments need to be happening with the scheme and the play calling. That's my point is you better fix this other stuff first, because at the end of the day, it won't matter what stuff you call if this is what's still going on. And that's something that I want to see from this team on Saturday night. So when we talk about what's at stake, that's a lot in week 2. This is exactly what we knew could potentially happen if they lost the opener. You immediately get put into this win or go home type of scenario in week 2. And that's what's at stake at Notre Dame. And I hope that means Notre Dame fans are fired up. And I hope that Notre Dame fans rise to the challenge in the same way that they're hoping that the Notre Dame team does. Like, if you're not going to this game, if you had a ticket and you're not going to this game because there's an illness or something going on, totally get it, totally respect it.
Sure.
And we have someone on our site that's selling their tickets because there was an illness to a couple. They're still coming, but some people they bought tickets for can't come, so they have some tickets available. By the way, there are some tickets on sale for face value or what those people bought it for at Irish Breakdown. That's totally fine, but there's people not coming because they're mad about the opener. Now you're the problem. I mean, this is a big game. Be there. Answer the bell in the same way that you're asking and expecting the Notre Dame team and coaches to answer the bell. Be there. Be loud. Be excited. And then if they don't hold up to their end of the bargain, then we can address that after the game. But the Notre Dame fans better be out there loud and fired up in this game. Otherwise, okay, you're mad at them for not doing what they need to do. Well, where are you? Where are you right now? Oh, you're selling your tickets to A&M fans? Cool. You're the problem now at this point in time. You know what I mean? Like, you're softer than you think that the Notre Dame team is. I'm just going to flat out say it. If that's the reason you're not coming because you're in your feelings about the opener. We don't want the players to respond that way. Then the fans need to also respond the right way and be there and be loud for that team because it needs to be a big environment because you need to do for this team what the Miami fans did for their team 2 weeks ago. And Notre Dame fans are always clowning on Miami fans. Well, now eyes are on you. They stepped up. I had friends that were there. They said that place was crazy loud. Are Notre Dame fans going to respond the same way? We're going to find out on Saturday night. But that's what's at stake for this football team, Trevor. And I hope that the fans understand that and the fans have their back the way that they should have their back. We can't cheer at the game because, we're there doing a job. But fans better be loud and fired up and give this team the backing that they need. And then it's up to the players and coaches to respond in kind with the energy that they need to respond with and play with.
Yeah, I'm hoping so, man. The same people that complain about Notre Dame not being a hostile place to play are the same people that sold all their tickets to Georgia and Cincinnati. Plain and simple. You can't be somebody who goes to games and buy tickets when everything is all sunshine and roses, and then the second there's a little bit of adversity, sell your ticket to make a quick buck because you have an awesome setup in your garage, and that's where you're going to watch the game. Those are my feelings about it. There's people out there that would give an arm and a leg to go to those games.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, people are very, very quick to sell those.
Now let's see if the Notre Dame players give them a reason to show up and be loud. That's going to be the thing. Because that, like I said, Trev, that's part one. It's not even about the playoff resume and all that, which we'll talk about again. It's you're going to show who you are as a football team from a character standpoint by how you not execution wise per se, still early in the season, but sloppy execution because it's early still results in wins when a talented football team plays hard, plays fast, plays physical, and takes the fight to the other team. And that's what I want to see from Notre Dame.
Well, let's talk a little bit then, Brian, about the playoff implications, because there are some things that can domino effect for Notre Dame, win or lose, with this game against Texas A&M. We talked about it last week. There is a path to the playoff with a loss, but it's very, very, very slim. And I said it last week. Look, man, you lose this game, and your playoff destiny is now officially out of your hands. You got to hope for a bunch of things to happen in front of you and teams behind you to continue falling off. And that's not a good spot to be in if you're a Notre Dame fan. But you win this game, Ryan, you said it earlier in the show, you're back on track, and Notre Dame's playoff destiny is well in your hands. Win and you're in. And that is about as straightforward as football can get, man, and that's a good spot to be in.
I mean, Notre Dame's still the number 8 team in the country right now.
Went up a spot after not playing.
Yeah, seriously. Like, everything that they want to that's in front of them is that everything that we thought was in front of this team before the season started is still in front of this football team. Flat out. College football playoff, win out, you're in. Like, it literally is 100% in their hands. Now, in a 14 playoff, would it have been 100% in their hands? Not necessarily. That how do certain things? shake out. If there's 4 undefeated Power 4 conference champions, okay, so the Notre Dame's not hosting, but they're still a playoff team. And Notre Dame's not getting a bye, but they're still a playoff team and they're still hosting. Like that's what winning out does. They're like not guaranteed. Well, actually, they kind of would be guaranteed because of the way that the rankings are. That if Notre Dame's ranked within a certain point, they automatically get in. That everything's in front of them. Like everything's in front of them. People talking about, this game doesn't mean this game means everything. This is actually a bigger game than the 2 weeks ago was, because now Notre Dame's in a must-win situation. But the reality is, Trevor, you win this game, and all of a sudden the ship is righted, and now it's about, okay, now it's time to clean up some of this other stuff, and your playoff resume is fine. Look, I've watched a lot of college football the last 2 weeks on top of just of Notre Dame, Trev, and there's a lot of teams dealing with the stuff that Notre Dame's dealing with. It's just not a lot of them have played good football teams that can expose it. I've watched teams play very sloppy football and win by 30 because they're playing a far inferior team, and Notre Dame is not starting with that challenge. So again, just win that game, and all of a sudden, boom, arrows pointed back in the right direction. You're going to jump up in the rankings, and you're in control of your own destiny. To your point, Trev, if you don't win, now you're scoreboard watching every week. Actually, we're not even talking about the playoffs for a while if they lose this game. But when you get to November, now you're scoreboard watching every week. That's where it's at.
Definitely not a good spot to be in, but it's still really early. I mean, there's not really a team in college football that I feel comfortable saying this is just who they are in the first
week 2. Yeah,
no, it's still extremely early.
The only ones that I would say that about, it's a bad thing.
Yep,
like that team's really bad, and there's no hope that they're going to get better.
Agreed.
I've watched UCLA twice now. That ain't good.
Oh yeah, like
people are losing their minds over Florida losing to South Florida, and I'm like, yeah, it's a bad loss. Have we stopped for a second to consider, after watching South Florida also beat Boise State by 27, that this might be a really good football team, and the Florida season's not over? I think Billy Napier's in a really bad position because I don't know his fan base is going to forgive him for this. But even there, it's like, guys, with what's in front of them on their schedule, they start winning games, they're fine. It's about what do you do coming out of it. But like, there's just not a lot of great football teams right now, Trev, because everybody is working through the same stuff that we're talking about.
Yep.
What do we really know about Ohio State's offense after last weekend? They hung a bunch of points. By the way, Julian Sand had maybe my favorite stat line of the weekend. Did not have a single pass attempt hit the ground. Now, he didn't complete all his passes to his team, but 18 of 19 for 4 touchdowns and a pick in that game. So not a single pass hit the ground. But what did we really know about them? We don't learn. We still have a lot to learn about all these teams.
Yep.
And that's the thing, is your who you are has not been determined yet for Notre Dame so far. Lose this game, and all of a sudden that becomes the case. Win this game, and all of a sudden you've got one of the biggest wins of the season up to this point in time, and now you're rolling. And so your playoff resume certainly is going to be impacted greatly by how this game goes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the facets of their playoff resume is the fact that they are hosting an SEC team at night at home on a national stage. I know Marcus Freeman in his press conference kind of dismissed the conference as a whole, saying, I get that it's an SEC opponent. I'm more focused on the team, and he should. That should be the head coach's stance. But at the end of the day, the SEC, we all know the kind of light that they're looked upon. And that's kind of what helped propel Notre Dame's playoff resume last year, especially with the fall off of Florida State. People still talked about Notre Dame going in and beating Texas A&M on the road in week 1 when they were Tuesday or Thursday night when they were bringing out the playoff rankings. They always talked about that week 1 road win. And at that point in time, Texas A&M wasn't even inside of the top 20. Mm-hmm. So this is a big, big game. And if you can emerge victorious over another SEC opponent, it's going to bode really well for Notre Dame's playoff chances.
Yeah. Agree.
Well, listen, folks, that is going to do it.
Let me say one more thing. When I look at this game too, Trev, so we talked about the playoff resume. The final thing I want to talk about too is I do think that this game also is going to greatly change the perception of Notre Dame. And that's also something that's very important for this team. We talked about the immediate emotional benefit of this football game. I think there's something even bigger picture at stake for this game as well. And that is you're still even with the loss to Miami, there's a lot of people that picked Miami to win that game that look at Notre Dame and say, hey, they didn't this is what's funny about the perception of Notre Dame with Notre Dame fans and Notre Dame compared to the outside views, because we hold this team in higher regard. We're super disappointed by that loss. Other people that kind of thought Miami's going to win anyway because they don't trust Notre Dame here, they look at it and say, you went on the road, you played poorly, you lost a turnover battle, you did this, you did that, and you still had the ball at the end of the game with a chance to win. So they're like, hey, that's a good win. That's a good loss for Notre Dame. I don't like that. I don't buy that. I think it was a bad loss, but that's the national perception. You played hard, this, that, and the other thing. When I look at what's at stake for Notre Dame on the opposite end, though, you lose this game or don't play well in this game, then all of a sudden that narrative about Marcus Freeman being the hot coach, Marcus Freeman being one of the best coaches in college football. I saw Rido Anthony the other day. They're asking who should be Florida's next coach, and he goes, Marcus Freeman, former Florida wide receiver. Like, he's still the hot coach that everybody wants. This is still a hot team. The visit list for this game is insanely good from a recruiting standpoint. You win this game, and that stays and builds also. And if you don't win this game, we're back to what's at stake for this game. We're talking about what happens if you win or lose. Now, all of a sudden, you get a giant black eye that's going to be hard for you to recover when you look at the rest of your schedule. Maybe USC October 18th has a big enough sort of resume by then to be a meaningful win. I don't know what else is going to be that kind of meaningful season-defining win if you don't win this football game, Trev. You're going to have to hope that there's chaos in college football that allows you to get in at 10-2, and all of a sudden you look great. But now, like you said, you're hoping that USC runs the table until they play you. You're hoping that USC is a top 10 team when you play. You're hoping that Pitt wins every week. You're hoping that Boston College can bounce back and win the rest. I mean, like, you're hoping that NC State can win out between now and then. I mean, that's a lot. You're hoping that Arkansas beats Ole Miss and Memphis on the road, both games, so that they can be ranked when you play them. To your point, now you're asking other people to do that. That's what's at stake for this game. But bigger picture, I think you lose some momentum as a program. I do. I think now last year starts to look like what people say it is. Not a super talented team, gritty, tough. Riley Leonard really made them better than they are. Xavier Watts made them better than they are. Pretty excellent first game for Xavier Watts, it would appear, based on some of the things I'm reading about his performance. Now, all of a sudden, that impression of who you are, big picture, changes dramatically. And I don't know what games are left on the schedule that change that back. That's what I think is another part of this, Trevor. It's not just about 2025. It's about how you're perceived on the recruiting trail, how you're perceived nationally. How's your brand? All of that, to me, takes a big hit if you come out and play in this game like you did a week and a half ago or a little over a week ago against Miami. So I think it's more than just this 2025 season. Now, I don't want the players talking about this. I don't want Marcus Freeman talking about this. They can't worry about that implication. They got to go beat Texas A&M. That's really the only thing they need to care about. We're talking about what's at stake in this game. This isn't something the players or the coaches should think a second about. But it doesn't change the reality of the outcome should they lose. But I also think should they win, they're right back there to that hot team. Now you start stringing together some wins after this. They're going to look back and be like, dude, you lost by 3 to Miami. You had a brand new quarterback. You're playing in the rain, new defensive coordinator, all these excuses that people make for other teams or with early season losses, they start making for Notre Dame in a month, 2 months from now. I don't like that. I don't accept that, but we're talking about the national perception from a recruiting standpoint, from a media standpoint, from a voters standpoint when we get to the college football playoff. I think those are all things that also factor into this that are much bigger than just what's your 2025 playoff resume, what's your 2025 path to the postseason. I think these things are much bigger, and that's something that's certainly at play for Notre Dame in this football game, Trev.
I mean, it goes back to something that we've talked about in the offseason. Can Notre Dame follow up a successful season with success? And right now, the way that you have to look at it is you're sitting on moral victories. They played better with a redshirt freshman than I thought on the road in a top 10 environment, sure. But right now, they're kind of on the precipice of being like 2019 Notre Dame, where it's like you had the opportunity against Georgia on the road to get that signature win and show that you can have sustained success, and they didn't get it done. Then obviously we know what happened against Michigan later in the season. But to that point, there's not really a whole lot of other marquee wins that you can pick up on your schedule after this one, as of right now. USC could get there. Who knows what happens with Pitt? Who knows what happens with Boston College, or maybe Arkansas can go on a run here in the next couple weekends. But again, that's all out of your control. Biggest perception piece with this game for me is looking at Notre Dame and can they follow up success? And right now they're 0-1 after they made a national championship. And so this is going to be a huge marker to see, okay, where is this program truly? Can you have sustained success? Can you be that consistent program that we've been longing to see for so long? Or is it going to be another one of those of maybe some of the, I guess you call them haters last season were right. They caught lightning in a bottle, and, Riley Leonard meant this and Xavier Watts meant this, and it was a down year for college football. Or can Notre Dame really put their stake in the ground and say, hey, no, we are a dominant program that's going to be competing for national championships year in and year out? Big picture, Brian, I couldn't agree with you more. That is absolutely at stake in this Texas A&M game. It's just a headache when it's their second game of the season in week 3 of the year, but that's where Notre Dame's at. That's why you come to Notre Dame to play these games. And so I agree with you wholeheartedly. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to do it for part 1 of today's show. Don't go anywhere. We're getting ready to dive into our Texas A&M overview. But before we get there, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Also, make sure you're subscribed to CFB Nation. More content coming out there. Vince and I will be back again this Thursday night at 8 p.m. to do the spread option. That'll be live. But as always, the best way to support what we do here, subscribe to the premium message boards at boards.irishbreakdown.com.